Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Dan. And today, as you can see, I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon, where I'll be talking about the movies, of course, TV shows, merchandising, I don't know, whatever the case may be. If it's related to Disney in any shape or form, then yes, there's a good chance I'll be talking about it. So here's the second part of the other thing I'll be talking about where someone is complaining about, oh no, diversity. Let's complain about, oh no, diversity, wokeness, and whatnot. And there's only going to be two parts of this. I'm not going to turn this into like a multiple part thing and whatnot. But okay, if Disney wants to be political in the movies, so what? I really don't have an issue with the movies being political. No, I'm not saying every movie that's inclusive has to be political. I'm not saying that. But if they are going to do that, it has to be crafted carefully, obviously. But unfortunately, a lot of religious people are just going to assume it's automatic garbage just because it's inclusive, which in itself is nonsensical when you think about it. But okay, whatever. Yeah, it just kind of reminds me of when the Life is Strange double exposure had been released. People would complain about it being inclusive, it was being woke and whatnot. It was LGBT elements, DI and whatnot. That alone somehow destroys the integrity of the franchise, and it's incapable of having a good story if you want to be inclusive. Which, again, I may add, that's not a good enough argument. Just because a game, or in this case, a game series, wants to be inclusive, does not mean it's going to be destroyed. What I also don't get, something like this was already been inclusive from the very get-go. The original Life is Strange had LGBT elements, so did Before the Storm and the other entries as well. So what I don't understand is that why is a lot of fans out there acting as if that this was the only entry in series those remain inclusive? Oh no, you have a trans character. How dare you? And whatnot. It seems kind of odd. You think about it, the fact that companies want to be inclusive in their stories does not mean it's going to be automatically bad. And yes, of course, it depends on the execution, it depends on how it's done, it depends on the writing. Yes, yes, of course, there should be more to the characters than the politics, of course. But this wouldn't have to be a political thing to begin with when people are complaining and complaining and getting angry over people just for existing. Why do you think a lot of the activists from the LGBT community keep fighting back to begin with? Just because those like breadcrumbs, breadcrumbs as a representation in stories, that's not going to ruin your game. And the Life is Strange game series as a whole barely have it in there. They barely have representation in these games. Could they do it better? Yes, they can. But don't act like this never happened before, is what I'm getting at. Same thing with Disney. Could the representation be a little bit better? Sure. But don't be acting like it never happened before because it certainly had it. Disney was inclusive before, and so was Life is Strange was inclusive before. This was not the only time that had occurred. So what I don't get is that they're acting as if this is going to somehow ruin the entire thing. So yes, I've heard that many fans have been calling Life is Strange double exposure woke or just criticizing its creativity. But the truth of the matter, like I keep saying over and over again, the series has always been about representation and tackling social issues since the very, very beginning. From the very first video game, Life is Strange, the series has prioritized diverse characters from various backgrounds, empathy, and meaningful storytelling. It's very important to recognize that this is a commitment is and is not nothing new. It's been a part of the series as a whole, and is what makes the series very special. Embracing this inclusivity does help its players who appreciate the series dedication to create a more understanding and compassionate world. And doing this kind of a thing actually does help out when you think about it. So I don't understand how it can be really surprising a lot of people. So yes, honestly, I don't mind having politics or just social commentary as a whole in stories if it serves the story, if it serves the plot, and helps build up meaningful characters and themes. And that's exactly what Life is Strange has done from the very beginning, using its narrative to explore real life issues in a thorough way. I mean, it doesn't always work, of course, but it does happen in these games. So yes, let's actually remember to appreciate that this series stays true to its core values since the beginning. So why are people acting that this is brand new? It's not a brand new thing whatsoever. And yeah, uses storytelling as a tool to foster understanding, compassion, and that's what makes this series special. At least one of the things that makes this series special when you actually think about it. So again, this has been the I think quite a while. Even in Before the Storm, I know a lot of these fans of Life is Strange only accept the first game and just the first game, which I kind of think is kind of bizarre in its own. But it's been in the first game, so I just find it kind of weird that a lot of fans acting as if that it's something brand new in Life is Strange Before the Storm. Life is Strange Before the Storm was not the only game that had done this, and I just find it extremely bizarre that they react at a lot of fans or just gamers in general act as if this is a brand new thing. It's not. It really, really isn't whatsoever. It's not a brand new spanking thing at all. So again, it's just kind of funny, weird that this is coming from a lot of people who already played the first game and they start complaining about it here. So how is it that it's in the first game, you don't seem to mind it there, but you complain about it here? I don't get it. Were you like blind the entire time? Did it go over your head? I mean, I know it's technically optional, sure. It is optional here. Like, you do have a choice. Whatever you do around these characters could negatively or benefit the characters depending on what you do. I could obviously have consequences depending on what you have. It could be bad, it could be good, or some in the middle depending on what you do. So yeah, that continues here, but it's also in the first game as well, quite obviously. So again, so I'm trying to say is that it's consistent in that regard. Life is Strange Before the Storm and all the others has been fairly consistent in that regard. Again, does some of the writing need work? Absolutely, but I'm just pointing that out there. So it seems kind of odd. We're just a lot of people would just pick at this game just for all that, just for having inclusivity. I don't get it. Seems just I'm just scratching my head over here. Okay, I know I'm on this part for quite a bit. Okay, I know coming off. I'm going on this for a bit too long. I know I'm just trying to bring a point here. You know what I'm saying? I'm going back to the whole Disney thing because I still have the other bit to talk about from that individual who am I talking about. I'll get to that in just a minute. Okay. Let's just wrap it up for this segment so I can get to the other portions of it and just get it over with. Disney always had politics from the very beginning, is what I'm trying to say. Disney always had politics from the beginning. Yes, even when Disney was alive. So why is a lot of people acting like this is brand new? Disney, the company, even when Walt Disney himself, you can look it up yourself if you want. Look it up yourself. Disney had politics in his films and his animations ever since the get go. And the company had been producing politic type storytellings even after his death, even after he died. To this very day, they still, the directors, the script writers, and whatnot, still continue that trend to this very day. To various extents, sure. I mean, does it always work? No, but it still happens, of course. It's still a thing in this day and age. So again, why a lot of the Disney fans or getting upset over this? I do not know. It's been there since the beginning. I'm just confused here. It's so bizarre. It is so bizarre when you think about it. But okay, whatever.
children with, and that's what really life is all about. They want to inject this woke garbage, and
Again, what garbage? Where? What garbage are you talking about? You mentioned Snow White, the rebooted version anyway, but you have not gone into great detail on what makes it bad. I can list a few things like I just did a moment ago, sure, but I'm not against diversity. I want diversity, not as a remake, mind you, but in the sense that with a good storytelling and whatnot. He has done quite well with that, depending on which movie. But it's not that Disney has ran out of any ideas, because Disney Company has shown they have plenty of ideas. So again, what do you mean?
I don't take my kids to Disney movies anymore. We used to, but I much rather take them to to see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. There's more morality in those.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies, those are terrible. And yes, I covered all the Ninja Turtle movies they made so far, folks. So just so you know, I did review all of those films, and they're all terrible. So he's trying to say those movies are better than the recent movies. How? How exactly are they better? What?
Than these so-called pro-family companies like Disney. It's just a total shame.
It's funny, Terry, if I can make this kind of odd comparison. One first lady to LBJ was Lady Bird Johnson. And why did they call her a ladybird? Because she was so tiny as a baby that they called her Ladybird, as I understand the story of how she got her name. And you look up, how did Snow White get her name? And the answer was, according to the story, her parents thought she was of such fair complexion that they called her Snow White. So what does Disney do? For no apparent reason, they say, let's cast somebody who's a person of color in the role. Oh, Christ almighty, is this circular logic again? But that aside, I've already explained this to you. I mean, when it comes to the fair complexion, that was not a reference to her skin color at all. The original Snow White is referring to the fact that her skin is smooth, that her skin was very nice and whatnot. It was not referring to the color itself. Snow White does not reflect the fact that she's white. That's not what's going on. When the story was describing her skin color, not really. It was referring to how smooth and how healthy she looks, the skin looks. It can be smooth and whatnot. But as for the remake, like I just said a moment ago, it was remade because a lot of people assumed that the original film was racist, which it is not. So Disney bent at the knees and remade it as a way to pretty much, I guess, recon those complaints, so to speak. Which is stupid. It's really stupid on Disney's part for that, okay? That's dumb on Disney's part for that, alright? I mean, again, yes, they should not have remade it. They should not have remade it. They should not have remade it. Again, they should not have remade it. Again, they shouldn't have not remade it, okay? The original film of Snow White was just perfect the way it was. It's often considered as one of the greatest films of all time, and rightfully so. But these people are, when I say these people, these Christians here, are assuming just because the remake is bad, therefore all remakes are bad. It's a conformity bias here. Of Snow White, which makes less than 0 sense. It's saying we're going to bend over more than backwards.
Again, yes, they shouldn't have done it. They shouldn't have remade these movies, or any of these movies, for example. They shouldn't have not done that. That's true. But you still vote of shit anyway because you don't like it when people of different countries or different sexual orientations or different gender identities are being represented in film. Somehow that triggers you, which, yes, makes you a bigot. This is some nonsensical stuff. I mean, yes, of course, I hate remakes, and I always will. But that doesn't mean it was going to stop me from trying to support Disney anyway. I mean, that's not going to stop me from criticizing Disney from time to time because, well, yes, I do like the Disney, but they're not exactly above criticism. So don't get anybody out there, don't get this twisted. I'm just going to be a kiss ass for the company. I'm not doing that. And these two men don't explain as to how it sucks. Why does it suck? I mean, I'll give a few reasons to why I believe it sucks, even though I have not seen it yet. I probably should watch it first before making any final judgments, really. But that aside, this is hypocritical anyway. If Disney was bending at the knees, which they are, I'm not denying they are bending at the knees to some extent, but It's just disappointing because in some ways it's hypocritical on the in these people because if Disney was bent at the knee for the Christians, they wouldn't complain at all whatsoever. It sort of seems really odd that they can't come up with a solid enough argument right here. So what are you talking about?
We're going to say we're going to change the entire character without changing her name. If they want to tell an entirely different story, why don't they just tell a different story?
Oh Christ almighty, that's actually pretty solid advice, really. Just do something brand spanking new, which they have, but that good advice actually falls in itself because you would have complained anyway. I mean, yes, if I had to make if I had to tell the Disney team something, I would have told them that I hope that this message would find them well, which I honestly don't think well. They're not going to see this video, but even if they were, I wanted to take a moment to show us a few thoughts on my own on the direction when it comes to the recent Disney princess movies, because whether it's live action or animated, yes, of course, I truly do appreciate the fact that they're trying to make more inclusive efforts in their stories that could include this cast of characters that's diverse to aim more inclusively with the audiences. That's true, and yes, it is very important for all viewers to see themselves represented in the films that they love, even if these characters are princesses. However, I do feel that there is a need to be more thoughtful approach when it comes to adaptations with other characters' portrayals. Yes, again, I can't stress this enough. While I do support the idea that of including diversity, but I do believe that rather than just simply remaking already existing properties with race swapping characters, there could be a great opportunity to develop totally new stories featuring original characters. This way, we can create fresh new narratives that can celebrate diversity without relying on already past plots. So yes, I would include this idea here because I want to encourage Disney, the company as a whole, and whoever the director is, to focus on reinventing and being more creative with their storytelling that introduces new characters and cultures using the rich exploration of different backgrounds and experiences. This approach would, of course, honor the legacy of Disney from the past, yes, while ensuring that our viewers can be connected to the characters on a deeper level from this point forward. So I would tell these people this and hopes for considering my feedback and look forward to seeing more type of new projects, new future holds for Disney princess films. Sincerely, Rogue Agent Killer Renan. If I had to write them a letter and whatnot. So you see that something like that. I mean, okay, what I just said is right there isn't exactly perfect, but you get to the point more better, of course.
But they want to tag it on to a traditional story that is about love.
And you just contradict yourself right there because you just did the thing I just got to saying you would. You would have complained anyway. You can still express femininity, you can still express girliness and whatnot in a variety of different ways. When it comes to femininity, I mean, of course, a very stereotypical way is through Christianity, apparently, because apparently, I get what he's getting at here in the sense that the only way to be feminine is through God, which is a lie. But in Japan, how they would express femininity would be different than how, let's say, India would do it, how Korea would do it, how China would do it, how let's say, Mexico, Cuba, the native Indians, as in over here, so on and so forth. Or how the Middle East would do it, or how, I don't know, literally any other country you can think of. There's like over 100 nations in the world right now, well over 100. And each individual one would have their own version of femininity. I mean, of course, there's going to be some common threads here and there, of course. But anyway, what I find weird that what gives you the right to enforce your version of femininity onto others is really insensitive. Gives you the right to impose your will onto others, and then you complain about the supposedly woke culture is doing that to you. What are you even talking about here? This makes no sense.
And family and true love and aspirations of a young lady to say when Prince Charming comes, it's going to be great. I'm going to live happily ever after. Why take that story and say now we're going to pervert it? And
That's my point. Christ almighty. Okay, thanks for the gaslighting, by the way. I highly appreciate the fact you gaslight me. Thank you very much. Thank you, come again. And you just proved my point. You literally just proved my point there. Again, you would have complained about this anyway. You just proved my point right there. And lo and behold, this whole diversity thing was already there. It was already there. It was already there. It was already there. Again, it was already there. Oh, did I mention it was already there? Because case in point, since Snow White is mentioned, she's from German. Snow White, yeah, Snow is German, and then the Cinderella, she's from France. Aurora, princess from Sleeping Beauty, she's also French. Ariel is from Denmark. Belle is French again. Ariel is from one of those Middle Eastern places. Pocahontas is, of course, is a native Indian, of course. Mulan is, of course, from China, and the Princess and the Frog is set in New York. Is set in New Orleans, and Rapunzel herself is also German, and Moana herself is you get the point. She's Hawaiian, either Hawaiian or Polynesian, either and or. But it doesn't matter really. But you still get my point here. It's so ridiculous.
Be as blunt as to say they're perverting the story to what? Try and wipe the story out altogether?
Yeah, they're ruining these stories. They're retelling them.
Again, who is this they? They who? They who is they? It's way too broad. Like I was saying before, first and foremost, yes, I want to make a thing when it comes to Disney's progressiveness forward for greater inclusively in storytelling, which yes, they should. I mean, the directors, of course, the director, not the company itself, but the directors who are making these movies. It's heartening to see certain characters that reflect diversity of audiences around the world. Yes, we should be done like that, but not in the way they're talking about. You shouldn't be race swapping, of course, and whatnot. And representation matters. I do believe it's really essential to continue and embrace this. However, like I said earlier, folks, I do have some concerns regarding the current approach to inclusively, because a lot of people had done some sexual rotation swap where characters were originally straight but were changed to maybe bisexual or gay. Primarily with the whole frequent remakes and the concept of race swapping certain characters that was already established. While yes, I do understand that the intention is to modernize certain classics and whatnot, and I get what they're trying to do with that. Of course, don't get me wrong, I get it, but it just feels like these adaptations lack the creativity and passion from the original storytelling and bring. So I do feel like it's kind of insulting in some ways because the people of origin, country of origin, like let's say since they brought up the skin color, I don't know why this seems kind of weird if you ask me. You're so heavily focused on that. Okay, let's say Africa for example, since that was mentioned for some reason. Okay, Africa has a diverse, rich history. There's so many kings and queens and princes that people in America has never heard of. So, with all the Disney princess movies, like the remakes, it's like a missed opportunity. It's a very missed opportunity to bring other princess characters into life and just have it based on maybe its own legends from Africa that nobody has ever heard of. Like, literally, no one has ever heard of, and bring some light to it. So, there's that right there. So, instead of just solely revisiting familiar stories, I do believe that there is a wonderful opportunity to create brand new princess narratives that could celebrate a variety of different cultures and backgrounds. This could lead to a much more richer exploration of diverse experience and foster a stronger connection with the audiences as they discover fresh characters and storylines. I honestly do believe that original content is needed rather than just rehashing older films that was already done maybe 50 years ago or 20 years ago. Could lead to more meaningful impact and expand the love for Disney princesses, while yes, making space for exclusive revisitation. The classics are classics for reasons, okay? The classics will always be classics. Those films will never go away, all right? Just throwing it out there. Those films will never go away. The original films will never go away, okay? The original Snow White, despite being remade, will never go away. It was still there. You can still watch it. It did not physically vanish into thin air. Disney did not do a Thanos snap and just made the original film vanish into nothing. So what are you talking about?
The actress that is playing Snow White just recently did an interview about how Prince Charming in the story was kind of creepy and he's a stalker. It's called pursuing a woman. It's called
Over there.
men used to do this.
That is so weird. That has been one of the creepiest things I've ever heard. Okay, first of all, again, you're wrong about that anyway. In the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, yes, Prince Charming wasn't in that much, that's true. But Disney wanted to have more scenes. In the script version of that movie, the character Prince Charming actually had a lot more scenes. So, but the end product didn't have that because animation costs money, especially for a high production kind of a thing. So, if anything, the script version was more faithful to Walt Disney's vision than the finished product because, like I said, there weren't going to be more scenes. It's just it was too costly. It was too expensive. I mean, the film already had a huge budget as it is, even for an animated movie. So they couldn't go all the way like they wanted originally because, again, too much money. It was already taking too much time as it is. They were hard pressed to finish this film in time, which, like I said, the people, the animators, went up and beyond to get this done.
It's men used to show interest in women and they would pursue them and treat them nice. It's really a reflection upon the state of America and what companies like Disney have created here.
Oh my God. Ugh. So that's gaslighting, by the way. It's also a red herring. It's definitely a red herring logical fallacy. You don't make as if you're connecting the dots somehow because somehow being inclusive is bad. Somehow being inclusive is somehow awful. But how does that make sense? So having diversity ruins America. How? How exactly does that happen? You still didn't explain nothing.
And they have created a society in which it's weird when a man expresses interest in a woman. It's totally insane. But they're going to keep doing this. Disney is not original, right? There are very few original stories that they've told.
Again, what are you talking about? Disney had done something a bit more original. Speaking of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the film Wish is kind of like arcing back to that, even with the art style, the storytelling, and all that, kind of like a reference to Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, but at the same time be inclusive and be more original. They had done this. They had done this. They had done this. And again, they had done it. But you Christians still complained anyway. Case in point.
All right, you've probably heard about the latest Disney flop over Thanksgiving weekend, but I haven't personally had a chance to gloat over it, so let's talk about that. This is the Daily Wire's report on it. Disney's new animated film, Wish, failed to perform well at the box office over Thanksgiving holiday weekend. It was especially tough for the studio following the massive flop of The Marvels earlier this month. Wish debuted in third place at the box office, grossing just $19.5 million in its three-day opening weekend, which is... For an original Disney film on Thanksgiving weekend, $20 million is abysmal. And it got $31 million over the 5-day Thanksgiving weekend, which is also abysmal. This was significantly less than forecasted and doesn't come close to recouping the $200 million production budget. And I always have to remind everyone that when you hear about the production budgets, that's only the tip of the iceberg.
As I said, you Christians would have complained anyway. Like I said, you have. So anyway.
The most original stories are from Pixar, which they had to buy out. But, Disney built themselves off of retelling Grimm's fairy tales, and now they're ruining them because...
Oh, give me a break. How can we complain about the remake versions not being faithful enough when the original films were not all that faithful to begin with? That's so stupid.
That's the only thing left for originality these days.
Well, and that's it, where it's one thing if you say, I want to tell an entirely different...
Again, they had come up with a more original, but you still complained.
Different story, do it. But when they say, we want to take a story and torpedo the original version, wipe it out, and say Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs is now a young lady who's a person of color with seven
Why do you have to word it like that? That sounds weird. This ain't the 1950s anymore, nor the 1960s.
people who aren't dwarfs, because that's not woke either. So they change it into something entirely different. It seems as though their agenda is not just to tell a story and put butts in seats and
I still don't understand as to why you guys are complaining about something just evil going on here when there isn't.
sell movie tickets. What they want to do is they want to say, we want to take parts of, stories that all of us.
You have to keep in mind, this is a business, okay? It's first and foremost, it's a business. It's a business. It's a business. Again, did I mention it's a business? Oh, yeah, it's a business. Ultimately, the film industry is a business. They have to do whatever it takes to make sure that people see their movies.
Have known for decades or for 100 years and say, we're going to completely tear that down to the ground. We don't want it to exist anymore, which I think is more nefarious.
Yeah, I think I'm done here. I'm just going to end it right here, folks. I have like about, maybe just a few minutes left of the podcast, but I'm bailed. But they keep regurgitating the same thing over and 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 over. They keep regurgitating the same goddamn thing over and over, with no legit complaints, really. All right, folks, that'll be it. Thanks for watching. So until next time, see you.